Lightning Network discussion panel with me
So with me,
and Robbie.
Andrew Yang.
Robbie. And Justin Camarena
There you go.
from Bit Refill.
Cool. So we're ready to kick things off?
Let's
All right.
get started. Come listen to this. It's important. Life-changing stuff. Scaling.
Scaling. That's a good place to not kick off. Okay, so I'm Robbie. I'm the founder of the Tokens Agency, which is a marketing and design agency which specialises in the space. I thought I'd introduce myself first because that's most important. And right on the end, the big guy, his name's Andrew Yang. He's the COO of BlockFuse, and he's a project coordinator of the Litecoin Foundation. Do you want to maybe introduce yourself a bit further, E?
No, that's good.
Okay, thanks so much. We're going well for time. And I've got Justin as well to my left, who's a software engineer at Bit Refill, which is a gift card and prepaid phone top-up merchant accepting many cryptos, including Litecoin. So maybe actually, can you go into some background on yourself, E, and how you got involved and what you do at BlockFuse and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I got into the space, I guess, in 2014.
Okay.
And then bought Bitcoin at 800. And then Mt. Gox happened and it fell to 300.
Wow.
And so I died.
Yes.
And then, I just took, But I refused to sell my Bitcoin because I refused to sell at a loss. And then so when in 2017 it hit $1,000, I just sold everything because I was like, it's not going above $1,000 again. And then, of course, it goes to 20K. So
That's the best.
So that's why I decided to invest in Litecoin because screw Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's just a cheap Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so what about BlockFuse? What do you do?
So we make Bitcoin and Litecoin app development easy. We provide like an integrated development environment, and it automates like Bitcoin, Litecoin nodes, and LND, which is like the Lightning Network software implementation. And so you can get set up on reg tests for the Lightning Network with the dev environment within like 30 minutes.
Wow, that's super quick.
Yeah.
Why does it take 30 minutes though? Why so slow?
It's just like all the compiling everything. Like you're compiling like different like layers and stuff. So
Cool.
Yeah.
And then what do you do at the Litecoin Foundation?
Yeah, I'm actually the partnership coordinator. So we get a lot of partnership requests, and so I go through the emails, look through the proposals, do some due diligence, make sure the companies are legit, and then if it looks like favorable for us, and if it's like mutually beneficial, then I'll like propose it to the directors and see if they approve.
Awesome. And Justin, self, what do you do?
So I'm a software engineer in Bit Refill. I started in the space in 2013. I didn't start working in the space until 2017 after university. I mostly work on the cryptocurrency integrations, API integrations. So we empower users to live off cryptocurrencies, not just in the US, but in many different countries, the UK, Europe. We're constantly expanding and adding more products to enable more users to buy products from us.
Awesome. And when did you get involved in the space? What year?
2017.
Awesome. That's great. Is there anything else you want to add to your intros?
I think we're good. Rob.
You don't want to plug anything? We've got e-currency hodler's book for sale at the Litecoin Foundation stand.
Yes.
How many are left? How many copies?
I don't know, but they're $20, and you guys should definitely.
To $20.
Buy it.
There you go. That's a bargain.
Yeah.
That's a bargain, folks.
It's a bargain.
That's all right. Let's not make fun of my accent.
I'm
because I can make
not.
fun
What
of
the-
many things
I
about
love your
you.
accent.
That's cool.
I want a TV show where we just have like Australians just say American words, and I would. That's so bad. I'm sorry.
It's going super well. All right. So, we're actually here not to talk about my accent, but about the Lightning Network. Since you have so many opinions about things, E, do you want to kick things off? What is the Lightning Network?
The Lightning Network is a scaling solution for Bitcoin and Litecoin.
So what's scaling? So let's break it down.
Yeah, it enables like faster transactions per second. It prevents blockchain bloat on layer 1, which is huge because it preserves like decentralization. So anybody can run a full node if they want to, and that's important. And so, it offers like payment finality instantly. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of it.
How many people here run full nodes? Can I get a show of hands? What are you guys doing? You don't want to run a full node?
Shame them
It's
into
easy.
running.
Let's do it afterwards. We'll grab you guys aside and set one up. So is there anything else you'd like to add? So why was it invented in the first place, do you know? And who was it invented by and who started it?
You know, actually, it's pretty interesting. There are like two separate proposals. One by like Christian Decker. Was it Christian Decker? I think it was.
Yeah, he made a different, sort of similar with payment channels. It was duplex payment channels.
Yeah, duplex payment channels. So he actually was working on it for a long time, but because it was a research paper, he couldn't really share it with everybody because it was getting reviewed by like conferences and stuff. But this other guy named Taj and Joseph Poon, they also wrote another version of the Lightning Network paper. They just like kind of published it online, and then so that got a lot of traction. They're pretty similar. There's some differences between the two, but I think just because that one probably came out first and it became like more popularized. So, and the reason why is because they want to preserve like the ability for anyone to preserve their own self-sovereignty by running a full node, right? And so increasing the blocks just creates a lot of problems. It increases like block propagation, which increases like orphan blocks, and it just makes it harder for people to like verify their own transactions. And so I think when they saw the Lightning Network and saw that you could make payments without necessarily storing it in the blockchain, I think that's why people started grabbing onto it.
And so what year was this that the paper was published?
I don't know.
2015, 2016?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Thought you guys were experts in the space.
It's been a while back. But I mean, another reason why it's been sort of a push right now is due to fees.
It's because of what, sorry?
Due to the fees on Bitcoin. Yeah. So payment channels have been an older idea that's been around for years, but no one had bothered to even actually implement it. It was not a priority. Bitcoin worked fine at the low scale it was being used at back then. Yeah. But now we're seeing scaling issues, and it's been sort of touted as a improvement and transaction amplifier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good segue into the next question, which is why is the Lightning Network important for Bitcoin and Litecoin?
I think it's important just because it makes payment easier. Payment actually is a lot more flexible, right? Bitcoin is actually unidimensional with like how you pay, but with the Lightning Network and how you can create invoices and how you can make payments, it's actually very, very, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with it. We just had like a hackathon over this past weekend, and it was really cool to see there were like 15 different projects, right? And then so some of the ideas that people came up with were micropayments, video streaming services. There's also one with there's a Twitter poll, like people can, if she's a test. Yeah, if she's like a content creator, she can say, oh, do you want me to make a cat video or a dog video? And then if like the majority votes on like cats, everyone who gets a dog video gets all their money returned, right? And so like that's a pretty cool feature that you can do with the Lightning Network, but you couldn't necessarily do with just layer one solutions for free, right? Like you can put it into like a multi-sig contract, and then you just have to constantly be paying fees. But with the Lightning Network, it's just maybe some routing fees, which is only like 2-3 satoshis. Yeah. So it's pretty cheap. And
so what is a satoshi, by the way?
Oh, it was like 1/100th of a millionth of a Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. Sounds about right. I always get very confused. If you want to turn E's mic off, just let me know. I might even signal to shut him up at some point. So why is it also important? So I mean, you've just given a couple of examples of, I guess, the speed of transactions and some of the opportunities that it proposes. But why is it important for something like Litecoin, which is already 4 times faster than Bitcoin, for instance?
I mean, I can take that one. Well, if you try to use any of these applications on any blockchain right now, not just Litecoin, micropayments-wise, every blockchain would pretty much be saturated. There wouldn't be enough capacity to scale up for any application. You would sort of have the CryptoKitties situation on Ethereum there.
Who owns CryptoKitties? No one? I've got 400 just sitting there if anyone wants to buy one. They're really strange-looking
That
monsters.
Man is honest, right? He just rose his hand. He's honest.
Oh,
you're
keeping
all over
it real.
Okay. I'm on Blockchain Cuties as well.
Now, can you leave? Can you leave, Jared? Just because? I'm just kidding.
Blockchain Cuties is also very cool. How would the Lightning Network, for instance, have fixed the scaling issue with something like CryptoKitties?
Well, it would allow you to make sort of thousands of transactions per second at a micropayment level, which you couldn't do this on a regular blockchain because everyone has to sort every single transaction that has ever occurred. With Lightning, it's more of sort of if I make 1,000 transactions to you, it's only stored between us, and when we close that channel, are on Lightning, it sort of, you don't need to store that data. So on a technical sense, it just works in that way.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, wish Vitalik had a thought of that earlier. What excites you most about the Lightning Network, both of you?
What excites me is that, just like the speed of transactions and the different kind of payment revenue models that can be created. I think actually we're going to have people from OpenNode come up on the panel later for the Litecoin track, but they are working with gamers and other people to just create like innovative ways to make revenue off of the Lightning Network. And because it's so cheap, like when we're talking about micropayments, some people think like 1 cent or 2 cent. We're talking about, with the Lightning Network, we're talking about like 1/100th of a cent, right, for payments and stuff. And so it also enables like possibly IoT things and just like completely automated infrastructure, machine payments. I don't know. So I think the sky's the limit with the Lightning Network.
So when you talk about, I guess, the revenue streams, like obviously running a node itself is not profitable, is it? Or is it profitable? Do you think that there's opportunity for it to be profitable?
So there's 2 layers, right? The first layer is just running a full node. You don't make any money off of that. You can run a routing Lightning Network node, and you can possibly earn routing fees, depending on like how well connected you are, depending on what your fee policy is. But I think, Justin, you have more insight to this because of Bitrefill, right?
Yeah, so our main focus now is not on earning fees from routing. I think the most benefit we get is having payments come to us directly. We're a well-connected node with a lot of capacity coming to us. So we do earn fees, but it's not something that we'll run to the bank with or anything. But there's potential there once we start seeing more activity, I think.
So when you say well-connected node, what do you mean?
I mean, we are a big node merchant service that a lot of other nodes connect to us and provide liquidity toward our way, which allows us to accept payments.
So Justin, what excites you most about the Lightning Network?
On our end, we're a merchant, so we're just doing the boring accepting payments. I think that's very exciting just to have that working first.
It's not boring.
It depends.
Okay.
Making
boring.
money isn't
It is
boring,
boring.
Justin.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'll cede the floor there. But I like to see all the other different applications, like with games, paywalls, things that you couldn't do before on-chain with Bitcoin or Litecoin or any other coin.
Actually, you know what? For the Boltathon, we had this one cool use case for the Lightning Network was CAPTCHA, right? So CAPTCHA is kind of like you click a button and you have to prove that you're not a robot, right?
Yeah, and the shop fronts.
Yeah.
You have to choose the
it's
shop
terrible.
fronts. I can't tell what a shop
And
front is.
sometimes, like, they say, oh, choose a bridge, and then you think it's a bridge, but it's not, and then so you have to do it again. So it's weird because, like, AI seems to be smarter than you or whatever at identifying bridges. It's, like, retarded. Anyways, I'm a human being. I'm not a robot. Anyways. With the Lightning Network, you can just do you can have them pay 100 Satoshis in order to log in or whatever, or to submit information or interact with your website, right? And so the idea is, like, for them, for CAPTCHA, it's a proof of time, right? Like, it costs you time in order to solve the CAPTCHA, and so humans would be willing to do that. But, like, with the Lightning Network, it costs you money. It just costs you 100 Satoshis to interact with your interface. And so that's also another cool solution, I think.
That's super cool.
Yeah, because like on our website, you can make a proposal to become a speaker to the Boltathon, which Justin did.
Yes.
But in order to submit it, you need to pay 100 Satoshis. So yeah, like it's like tiny things like that that will speed up interactions between communication and people and interfaces without taking away our time, which is, I think, more valuable. Yeah.
So you've spoken about 2 sets of nodes. So these guys over here aren't running a full node yet. Can you run us through what a node actually is, and what a full node is, and then what a Lightning routing node is, if you don't mind?
So a full node, as in Bitcoin or Lightning?
Bitcoin, yeah.
On the Bitcoin level, a full node is something where you verify everything that occurs on the network, every single transaction. So without that, you're not able to know whether or not the rules are valid. On Lightning, for a full node would be something that depends on this source of truth, a Bitcoin node, and you're running this to make payments or open channels to other nodes. While you don't really need a full Lightning node to use it, there's a new technology called Neutrino, which allows you to have a light client, so you can use this on your mobile phone.
So you mentioned something about opening channels. What does that mean?
So opening a channel means, say if we have a customer and we have a Lightning node and someone wants to make payments to us, they open a big channel to us and they push potential money toward us. So say they open a 0.16 Bitcoin channel to us. They're able to send 0.16 Bitcoin to us or anyone else that we're connected to.
Right. And so that's why it's important to, I guess, have a lot of nodes connected to your node?
Yes.
Do you want to add anything to that, E?
Yeah, maybe, so whatever he said for Bitcoin works also for Litecoin.
Yes.
Yeah, and just a full node is just basically something that downloads the entire blockchain history. I think for Bitcoin it's about 20 gigabytes. No, 200 gigabytes.
200.
Yeah, for Litecoin it's around 20. And yeah, I guess so that's just like what a full node is. Like if you download Litecoin Core or Bitcoin Core and just leave it running, like you're running a full node. But with Lightning, it's just you have to download a separate client, and you've got to have these two clients work together in order to get on the Lightning network. But like what Justin was saying, soon, Neutrino, which is a light wallet client for Lightning Network, it'll make it a lot easier to do that.
And am I mistaken for thinking that Neutrino can run on your phone? It's that light? Is that right?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty exciting that you can actually run something on your phone that light. So what would that allow merchants to do, for instance?
Can you say that again? I can't hear you.
What would running like a light client like Neutrino on your phone allow merchants to do that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do?
I mean, you'd be able to host a Lightning wallet on your mobile phone and receive payments.
Yeah.
Maybe in a point of sale or somewhere. I would still think merchants would want to run a full Lightning node.
Yes.
This is more a light node would be more toward users.
Okay.
Yeah, like it would be more powerful for users, right? Like there are a couple Lightning Network mobile wallets right now, but they're custodial. So a Lightning Network makes it non-custodial, which is what Bitcoin and Litecoin is all about. And so it would be better for users to make payments at the merchants.
So how would you go about actually setting up your own node? Not a full node, but actually setting up a Lightning node, for instance.
So on iOS, there isn't really. I'll let him go after. On iOS, there isn't really any Lightning nodes you can run on the device yet for mainnet. There is for the test network, but on Android there are, for example, 2 wallets which allow you to have control of your own funds on Android. So it's Bitcoin Lightning Wallet or Eclair. And I believe for Litecoin, they're adding support to have those on as well. On iOS, they're more of a remote wallets. So you host a node somewhere else, a Lightning node, and then you connect to it. So we're seeing like sort of an insurge of have a node at home in this space, like with Casa.
Yeah. So, because there are sort of plug-and-play solutions like Casa around. Do either of you want to talk about those and why I guess they're helpful for the space and supporting the network?
So for Casa, it makes it easy for anyone that's not too technical to be able to run a full node and not have to trust another service to tell you what your Bitcoin balance is. Or I think it also makes it so you can have a mobile wallet where you're able to connect to this and not have to trust a third party.
Has everyone heard of Casa and Casa nodes? I've got one and I could set it up. And I mean, I'm seriously non-technical. Like, look at me. I match my socks to my shirt. Actually not today.
It's kind of cute.
Actually, that kind of would have been technical. But I guess it does allow for ease of use and ease of setting up, which is something which is super important for a space which is hyper complex and confusing and constantly confuses me. And so if you weren't to set up or just a Casa node or plug it in, how would you go about running something like this? Would you have to code it yourself through terminal? What would you have to do? Do you want to maybe take this one? No, without Casa.
Oh yeah, there are other plug-and-play solutions. Like there's a website called Lightning in a Box that you can just download. There's Raspberry Pi Blitz, but that requires a little bit of coding. I actually have a guide that people can follow on Windows or Mac. And I actually have people from here in the crowd who set up their own Lightning Network node following my guide. And we've helped troubleshoot them in our Telegram. And so that's pretty cool because it builds community and everyone tries to help each other out. And this is cutting edge stuff, right? And so like, if you set up a Lightning Network node right now for Litecoin or Bitcoin, you're at the frontier, right? So I think that's really cool. Like, my node was like node number 18, right, for the Litecoin network. So that's pretty cool.
And so does that mean because you were so early, you have more nodes connected to your node, or what's the value in getting in so early?
Just the fact that to tell people, man, I was at the cutting edge of this. Like, before everyone knew about it, you know, I was the first one to write up the
So it's your
Litecoin.
ego again. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a constant theme.
No, but like it's just a cool thing to say. Hey, look, I wrote like the first Litecoin Lightning Network guide for people to use, and it's just cool. Yeah.
So where can people find more information about that?
It's on my GitHub, eCurrency Hodler, github.com/eCurrencyHodler. Yeah.
We'll chuck that up on the non-existent screen after this as well. For those of you that missed that, that's super cool. Do you want to add anything to that, Justin? Like, are there any other places that you go for information on how to set something up?
After setting up that guide, if you want a place to try out Litecoin Lightning, we're one of the first merchant. I think we are the first merchant to enable people to pay us through Litecoin Lightning.
That's pretty exciting. When did you enable that?
I think it was a few months ago, not too late after enabling Lightning on Bitcoin.
And many merchants adopted it, or?
I believe a lot of the payment processing companies have Lightning and Litecoin Lightning. I think Andrew would know better.
Yeah, CoinGate. It has enabled Bitcoin and Litecoin Lightning Network payments. So they help stop shops receive that. Yeah, Bitrefill doesn't do that, though. They just receive it. They just receive payments for their cards and games and Netflix coupons and stuff. I actually won a Netflix coupon by retweeting the Bitrefill tweet, so that was pretty cool.
Let's get a little clap. What a win. Yeah. Well done.
I'm a winner.
Well, congratulations
I'm a winner.
on your win.
You all will be winners if you set up a Litecoin Lightning Network node, so...
That's right.
Yeah.
And so how many of these nodes are in existence at the moment for both Bitcoin and Litecoin?
Litecoin's pretty small. I think we broke 100 over like a month ago, so maybe like 150-ish. I don't know. I have to check.
Yeah.
Huh? 180. Thanks, Jeremy. My man.
For Bitcoin, I'm not too sure on the latest numbers. Last I checked, we had more than 1,000 Bitcoin in capacity, which isn't so much. Channels, we had close to 40,000. But I think people don't realize that much of this public stats won't be shown. This is just the public stats of people running a full Lightning node.
Because you can keep it private, right?
Yes, so anyone that uses Lightning on a mobile wallet won't show up on this graph for Litecoin or Bitcoin for privacy reasons.
Wow, so can you guesstimate, I hate that term, but can you guesstimate how many people are actually running some Bitcoin node or Bitcoin Lightning node?
On a mobile wallet or?
Yeah, any
1 million people.
1 million. Thanks very much.
It's
That's
hard.
super helpful.
It's hard because they're private, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's one of the benefits that the Lightning Network brings is user privacy.
So why is that important?
Excuse me?
Why is privacy important?
Because, okay, so for example, let's say we went to dinner,
Yes.
and you picked up the bill, right? And I was like, hey,
Which I did. Yep.
Yeah. And I want to pay you in Litecoin.
Yep. You didn't. Sorry. We've got history. Yep.
You could, so you know what your address is, and you know how much Litecoin I sent you, but you also know how much Litecoin it was spent from. So I could have had maybe, I don't know, like 30 Litecoin in my single address that I spent from, and you can say, whoa, Andrew's loaded with Litecoin. Maybe I'll like rob him after this dinner, right? Like, that's terrible. Like, I don't want to reveal how much of my money I actually have when I pay you for covering the bill, right? That doesn't make sense. With the Lightning Network, all that is abstracted away. It's hidden. So I just make a payment to you. You receive the payment, and that's it. Like, nothing is revealed about like how much Litecoin I have on my end.
So do you think that could potentially, you hear about all these people being held up for their Bitcoin and their Litecoin and stuff like that at gunpoint or knife point or, pen point. Do you think that it could potentially stop stuff like that in the future, or what do you think this sort of, I guess, privacy allows people to do?
I freak out about that. Like, for the longest time when I was in the space, I was just a snoovatar. Like, nobody knew who I looked like.
A what?
A snoovatar.
Okay.
It's like a Reddit avatar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they call it. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm super, like, I have 2 ledgers. So if I ever get it, actually, I shouldn't tell you this. But like, you know, it's like
Where are they?
Yeah,
Who here doesn't have a ledger?
yeah. Yeah, no, but it's just like, you know, if I ever get attacked, I can say, hey, look, here's my ledger, and then, you know, it has some Bitcoin in there,
Yeah.
and Litecoin and funds. It's just so that they look at it, they're like, oh, okay, and then they walk away, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm safe, right? So user price, like, you should always be very, super, super careful about, like, conveying how much crypto you use and you own. But, yeah, it's very possible that, like, if I'm, like, let's say I'm at a local Litecoin or local Bitcoin meetup or whatever, and I want to get Bitcoin, and then I just bought Bitcoin from you, and I see from your address, dude, Robbie actually owns like 100 Bitcoin. Like, I would be super incentivized to follow you home and find out where the rest of the Bitcoin is, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of creepy. But with the Lightning Network, you don't run into that issue.
Yeah, so for us, any orders we receive over Lightning, we have no idea from where it's coming from. Like, it could be coming, we can see from what node it's paying to us, but other than that, we don't know if it was that node that paid us or somewhere down along the line.
And so why is that sort of level of anonymity, which I said correctly, important? Why is that level of sort of privacy and anonymity important?
Because we don't really want, say, someone is targeting our customers. We don't want an attacker to know who our customers are and how much money they have on their end. That should be private info that they store.
So another cool use case, though, is you know how, like, cryptocurrencies you deposit into addresses, right? So it's very possible if, like, I don't know, somebody leaks that address, if they tweet it on their profile or whatever, then, like, I can keep track of that address now. And if you're a big-time trader, I actually can pick up when you're depositing a huge amount of Bitcoin or Litecoin. And if I have Litecoin or Bitcoin in the exchange right now, like, I can sell it right before you sell it, because it takes like 6 confirmations sometimes for it to confirm into your exchange, right?
Yeah.
And so that's called front running. And so I can sell it before your funds hit the exchange, and then you sell it, and then it drops because it's a huge amount, right? And then I can pick it up. But with the Lightning Network, you have no idea if they integrate Lightning Network. You have no idea who's front running or who's paying what at what time. And so it makes it a lot more safer, I feel like.
So are there exchanges other than, because CoinGate's not an exchange, it's a
merchant processor.
Merchant processor. Are there exchanges at the moment that have implemented Lightning to your knowledge?
I mean, I know there are a few exchanges that have integrated right now. Not too many big names, but I am personally talking to a few exchanges and helping them integrate Lightning.
And so, aside from the I guess the use case that E pointed out, what other I guess opportunities or benefits would there be for an exchange to implement the Lightning Network?
Being able to move liquidity from one exchange to another to sort of arbitrage the price. I think right now that wouldn't be the case because there are limits imposed on the network so that the amounts sent aren't that high. But in the future, that's totally a possibility.
Yeah, so do you want to talk about the limits and why I guess the limits are important of how much... So you can only put so much Bitcoin and Litecoin inside your channel, right?
Right.
So open up a channel with so much Bitcoin or Litecoin. So why is that important at the moment?
Well, initially it's still software that's in beta, so it's not really, I wouldn't say safe to put all your money in this right now.
Reckless.
Yes, so they imposed the limit, the developers of Lightning from different implementations imposed a 0.16 Bitcoin limit maximum for a channel to be opened.
So that's pretty incredible if there's 0.16 Bitcoin threshold and there's did you say 1,000 Bitcoin currently within the network? How many Bitcoin are...
I believe around 1,000. But in the future, this limit is going to be removed entirely for Bitcoin and Litecoin.
So is there a roadmap on when that might actually happen?
There's been a spec detailing that and a plan to remove it. So hopefully within this year, at the end of the year, it can be removed entirely.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you touched on the blockathon and you're running that sort of thing. So what are some of the really exciting applications and that are being built on top of Lightning, aside from the ones that you've already mentioned?
Yeah, like my personal favorite was like the lightning poll, which I talked about earlier, where like you can refund user funds when they vote based on how the vote goes out. Another one is called Lightning Mapper, and so they incentivize adding features to satellite images, and so you go onto like a Google Maps or something, and then you can build out like a road or whatever, and like kind of build out like this is like where the house is and the building is, and then every time you do that, you get paid out in satoshis.
What?
Yeah, and so like right now people do it for free, but man, like if I say like, oh, I'm just gonna drop like, I don't know, $1, and then you can cover like this whole like city, because like every pixel is like 1 satoshi. Like, sure, why not? Like you can just be incentivized to do that.
It's incredible.
I think the same. Like right now we have many places to spend Lightning, but we need places where we can earn Lightning, even if it's at a small amounts at a time, I think.
How can you earn Lightning at the moment through Lightning?
You got to set up a node. You got to set up a Lightning network node and do something and have someone pay you.
What about, so what are some of the other apps that have been built on top of it? I mean, you can play chess right now, is that right? Koala, is he here?
Yeah, there's a chess game by Koala. There's Satoshi's Place by the same developer.
Oh yeah, what's Satoshi's Place about?
So basically, on Reddit there was this place, sort of website where you can paint pixels, and what Satoshi's Place did was you can sort of charge per pixel. So each pixel was 1 Satoshi, and it allowed there to be sort of a barrier, so not everyone can just paint over the graph. It would cost money.
So what did the painting end up looking like, do you know? Was it just full of...
It changes all the time, and that's
okay.
the beauty of it, yeah.
And is that just because it's so easy and flexible, and I guess there's a very low threshold to being able to contribute?
Yeah, it just costs 1 Satoshi per pixel.
It's pretty interesting. You did have some other apps that you wanted to mention. Were there any other things, other apps, or why you think it's important that you should be building on apps on top of Lightning?
Yeah, I mean, there's like we have like 15 different projects, so you guys can definitely look it up. If you go on YouTube, Block Views, that's our YouTube channel. We have like a video playlist in it, and it shows all the speaker sessions for free and project presentations. So definitely check that out. I would say like another one that was pretty cool was Bottle. So Bottle was the second place winner, and then Tip Hub was like the first place winner. But Bottle is kind of like, it connects all your social media accounts and integrates it with Lightning so that you can be tipped on Reddit, on Twitter, on Facebook.
That's awesome.
And so, because like the theme was Hack Social.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, social encounters, social engagements. And so, yeah, that's also pretty cool because like as a content creator, like I want to, if somebody tips me for my tweets or for my Reddit posts, I think that's awesome, right? And so that's another thing that it enables for cheap.
That's really cool. And Justin, any others you want to mention?
I mean, we have some things coming on our roadmap, but I can't really share that right now. But hopefully on the earning aspect.
On.
What a tease.
I'll tip you with all
That's what she said.
Nothing?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's just
terrible.
Let's keep sexual innuendo to the host of the panel, please. The other thing I wanted to ask was there's been a bit of, not controversy, but shit stirring by, sorry, excuse the profanity, shit stirring by like, I guess the XRP community and stuff like that about why Litecoin Lightning actually shouldn't exist, and maybe do you want to talk about why Lightning Network for Litecoin is actually important?
I mean, I can sort of chime in there. I think right now there are sort of new applications coming in for trading. So having a decentralized exchange where you can trade between Bitcoin Lightning and Litecoin Lightning. I think there was 2 or 3 that were just released, and the 2 assets are Bitcoin and Litecoin. And those are the two assets that actually work with Lightning right now.
Yeah. So, do you know of any other assets that are planning on implementing Lightning?
So the thing about Lightning is that it's actually blockchain agnostic. It's not restricted to Bitcoin or Litecoin. So any other cryptocurrency out there can, if they're Bolt compatible, they can basically like interact with Bitcoin or Litecoin, right?
Did you say Bolt compatible?
Yeah, that's like the Bolt specifications. It's like the standard you need to meet and some specifications you got to meet in order to correctly interact with other Lightning implementations.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's like anybody can get onto the Lightning network. Yeah, so yeah, if you want to be part of like the DEX, the Lightning Network swap DEX that Justin mentioned, you just got to adhere to the standard.
Yeah, so I would only worry about this if you're on a technical level developer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really something to worry about as a regular user.
Okay.
But if other coins can add it as long as they adhere to some rules.
So why wouldn't something like CryptoKitties implement Lightning?
You'd have to ask. You know, every blockchain.
Is there anyone from CryptoKitties here? They're at token 2049. Not that interesting. Yeah, sorry.
You'd have to ask the developers of Ethereum specifically, because that's a protocol feature. Like CryptoKitties is an app, right? So Ethereum itself has to be Lightning enabled, and you know they have different philosophies on scaling. You know, and I think that's great because it gives us test cases and experiments to see like, oh, that worked or that didn't work, right? So yeah, it's up to the devs to build it out.
That's maybe an interesting segue. Again, I hate the term segue. And I hate those little scooters that you guys have around here. Really dangerous, particularly when
What
you're
are you
drunk and
talking-
using
what?
them. The scooters outside, you know?
Yeah.
But so, I mean, obviously Ethereum has different, I guess, views on scaling and how to do scaling. So what are the pitfalls of Lightning and why wouldn't, you know, Ethereum just adopt it instead of doing sharding or whatever they're deciding to do at the moment?
I mean, I can sort of chime in there. They have their own version of the Lightning Network, but for some reason they added a token, which is totally not necessary.
And what's that called? What's their version?
I think it's called a Radiant token or something. And I think one of the biggest issues we're seeing is if you can't run the node, even if it has Lightning, no one's going to use it because you cannot run the base layer. And in the case of Bitcoin and Litecoin, you can run those nodes pretty easily and run a transaction amplifier on top of those.
Okay.
Actually, you know, also somebody posted this, and it's like a really interesting concept. It was like Lightning Network style smart contracts with DAI, and what they did is that DAI
Which is
MakerDAO.
MakerDAO's...
Yeah, stablecoin.
MakerDAO.
Yeah.
Just for those that don't know. Yep.
Yeah, and then so what they did was every DAI actually was a specific payment channel to a node, and then the node itself and everything was kind of pre-built. Like right now, the Lightning Network is just node to node to node to node. But then what this did is it just provided a hub so that anybody who like wanted to participate in this super fast Lightning Network style DAI system, they would connect to the hub, and the hub would just like, so it's like hub instead of like node. So like it's really interesting. So they're trying. There are different ways to approach it. It's more custodial though. So yeah,
That's really cool. Particularly for you, Justin, I mean, why is Lightning important for merchant adoption?
I would say from experience handling payments coming to us on-chain, I would say users send the wrong amount to us. They send the amount in fiat. They send overpayments. I think with Lightning, what we've been seeing, other than some bugs that should be fixed, payments are settled instantly. There are no underpayments. There are overpayments in some cases, but those should be eliminated. So it's just a better user experience for the user and for the merchant.
Can you give us an example of like if I went outside and paid for a coffee on-chain versus using Lightning?
Well, I think in that example, you wouldn't wait for a confirmation on-chain. So I don't think it'd really be the same. For an online merchant, you don't really see the customer face-to-face. So you can't really trust them to sort of fulfill the transaction. With Lightning, we get the money instantly on our end.
Yeah. So, because on-chain, like, how long potentially could it take for the transaction to process?
For Litecoin, it's pretty instant since they have a bigger capacity. For Bitcoin, it may take 10 minutes, 2 hours, depending on how much activity is going on.
Which is a long time to wait for your coffee, I guess.
Yes.
Goes cold. I was setting it up for that joke. That wasn't a joke.
No, I think Lightning Network is great for brick and mortar stuff. Yeah, so because it's instant payment finality. Like instead of having to wait like one confirmation like 10 minutes or 2.5 minutes for Litecoin, it's like instant.
And so then how does the merchant themselves then reconcile at the end of the day? So I mean, I get $5 in the till. I count up the till at the end of the day, and there's $30 in there, and I haven't had a massively successful day, but I've reconciled. How do you reconcile as a merchant at the end of the day using Lightning?
I think in our case, it's just a big hot wallet. Funds are sort of stuck there. There are no exchange that you can really send our Lightning Bitcoin to yet, but there are services that are solving this problem. You can sort of, I think Lightning Labs, one of the node implementations for Lightning, they offer a software where you can sort of loop out money, so you can sort of take money off on-chain.
That's cool.
You can also close channels as well. So say
what's closing a channel?
So say there's two nodes on the Lightning Network. There's a channel connected to us, and all the money's pointed my way.
Yep.
I can sort of close it and then receive those money on chain.
Okay, awesome. So that's basically like accepting the money from the hand.
Yes.
You were going to say something? No? Okay. I guess there was very recently the lightning torch, which at Jack on Twitter was tried to make. No, you don't like Jack?
No, that's great.
Why be?
I was like whistling, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing
Yeah.
that he actually got on board. I mean, he's been a big proponent of Bitcoin for, 7 years or something. I think Square implemented Bitcoin in 2014 or something. But anyway, so why are things like Lightning Torch super important for, I guess, increasing the adoption and awareness?
I mean, I think it shows that people can make these payments, even Jack or normal people can sort of receive the torch and send it out. It sort of validates that the network is working.
Do you guys know what the Lightning Torch was, that scenario, on Twitter? Maybe E, do you want to take that? Did you ever get the torch?
I did not.
Okay.
The torch is basically they're paying someone an invoice of like, I don't know, it's sort of like 100K satoshis, and then and then they pass it on to the next person. Excuse me, and they add 10,000 satoshis, so it's 110,000 satoshi, and they pass it to the next person, and they add another 10,000 satoshi. So they kept on doing that over and over and over again. So it was just kind of like a torch, and I think one of the cool things is like they were passing this torch like country to country. To places that U.S. dollars was like excluded from. Like you couldn't easily get pass U.S. dollar to another country, and so it was just like a cool demonstration of like allowing people to receive the Lightning Network from anywhere in the world. Like people were even sending it from an airplane and stuff. So yeah.
And I believe when it's finished, I think there's only 7 more changes of the torch.
Okay, really?
They will donate all that money to Venezuela, something in Venezuela.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that. Well, hopefully I'll receive it before it goes to Venezuela, or I'll have to move to Venezuela, which would be terrible, apparently. They don't have electricity at the moment. I'm digressing. What are some of the issues and pitfalls of the Lightning Network?
I'm thinking in our case, not being able to send big amounts yet, having to store the money in a hot wallet.
So what's a hot wallet?
So basically it's where you have to store funds online and you can't really take it off unless you sort of close channels. Another pitfall is there isn't wallets on iOS yet that everyone can use. A lot of the wallets aren't user-friendly, but these are all problems that can be fixed and sort of improved on, in my opinion.
So with the hot wallet, does that then expose, you were talking about before, like, I guess the confidentiality or anonymity where you don't know, or I don't know how many Litecoin that you're holding. Does something like a hot wallet potentially expose that at the moment for people making transactions? Because it is online?
For merchants, they would have to be online 24/7. But for users, I wouldn't really say it sort of impacts privacy, because the user does not have to be online all the time if they run a Lightning wallet.
Okay, that makes sense. And so do you know of any other pitfalls or, I guess, bugs at the moment with the Lightning Network?
I mean, I would only say there are sort of technical bugs that it's not really the right crowd for that, that are being fixed, I think. And there also are improvements that are coming that sort of makes all of this easier and helps sort of bootstrap it.
And so once that threshold of 0.16 Bitcoin is increased, and I guess made, open, what do you think that will actually allow the space to do and the network to do?
I think you would have big channels between exchanges. It would help improve sending bigger amounts, in my opinion.
Yeah, because at the moment with like Western Union or TransferWise, you're getting charged between 7 and 20% fees sometimes, which is kind of crazy for like remittance payments. So I mean, would this be used potentially for stuff like remittance and cross-border payments, do you think?
Yeah, so in our case, we'd be able to sell bigger gift card amounts. I think right now it's $100-something. So we offer products that are over $1,000, flight gift cards, hotel gift cards. Most of those you cannot buy with Lightning right now, but in the future, potentially you could. So.
That's cool. And so maybe before we go to the lightning round, which is when I'll maybe ask, no, it's no good. No.
I love that name, Lightning Round.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks. I just made 2 jokes there. I made a no joke as well. But I'm kind of nasally. I'm about to get on a plane.
You're doing a great job, Robbie.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that you want to mention about, like any innovations or developments that you're excited about for the future of Bitcoin and Lightning and Litecoin Lightning Network?
I think getting more developers to become interested. I think Andrew's doing a lot with that, with this hackathon he recently had. Maybe more designers added on. So you can have a technical base, but if it doesn't look great and it doesn't feel great, no one's going to use it, in my opinion.
We're going to have a panel on user experience and design in 2 hours as well, if you want to talk about that.
Which you are on.
I'm on.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was this one, which is why I'm not that prepared, and I've got my phone, which is quite funny, I guess. But yeah, I guess the user experience is something like Kaza is trying to solve, which is like for the non-technical like myself, I can literally just plug in, it downloads the blockchain, and I'm up and running within 5 minutes. So what sort of other user experience problems do you see, other than actually being able to program it yourself? Do you see any others like interfaces, or what are you sort of particularly talking about?
I think crypto in general is just really difficult. I just had an interesting discussion with actually someone from Edge Wallet, and he was saying, when you build a product or when you build something, it's really, it's kind of dependent on like the protocol layer stuff. And, people who are protocol devs, they're very like focused on making it very dynamic and granulated. And so that actually kind of makes it difficult for designers to kind of take what protocol devs have built and make it user-friendly, right? And so I think it's a big challenge, but I think it's possible. I think it just requires making a lot of assumptions. It makes requires like automating a lot of processes and abstracting them. And so there will have to be like different levels of users, like people who just use like a super easy, super simple like Cash App type interface, and that's fine because like that's all they're capable of, right?
Yep.
But then you might have a little bit more technical users who can like custom set their fees, who can try to open a channel with someone else, and then you have like the power users who are in the terminal and they don't want to deal with like UI UX stuff. They want like hard. So there might be different tiers, and that might just be the reality.
Is there anything else you want to add before I go to the lightning round, which is the audience questions?
Yeah, I think atomic swaps on the Lightning Network is
that's cool.
Like future development-wise, that was one of your questions, and
So
I'm
what
really
are atomic
excited about
swaps?
that. It's just I can exchange Litecoin for Bitcoin instantly on the Lightning Network. Yep. Yeah.
Without trusting that the money will be stolen or...
Huge, without trusting them, yeah.
So that's what an atomic swap is. It's the transfer of two different coins for the same amount. I didn't explain that very well.
At an exchange rate, at a set exchange
That's
rate,
right.
and then, yeah.
Anything else?
Let's do the lightning round.
Lightning round. Does anyone have any questions for any... Oh, yes, please. All right, I'm going to come down. Oh, no. Can you come down? That's great. Thank you. These chairs are quite high. I don't think the insurance is going to cover me.
Hey, we run a blockchain venture fund out of Newport Beach, and we've been in technology investing for a couple of decades at this point in time. And one thing that stands out very much for us, that adoption is always seen backwards oftentimes. It's something that we've been addressing for like 30 years. It's like, you don't want to expect users to adopt your technology. You want to adapt technology to your users, right? And so to that extent, I think it's very important that people finally understand that money is just language, currency is just technology. And you won't be teaching people a new language. So my larger point here is, I would love to hear someone to address the obvious elephant in the room. It's like, we need to create synthetic fiats more often than not in order to put it into what I would consider RAM at the point of sale. Because at the end of the day, you won't be teaching any more merchants to accept crypto, which is a terrible term to begin with. But the important part is to finally actually finish the stack, so actually build money over IP, because the number of cryptocurrencies we need is probably anywhere between 0 and 1. What we need is money over IP. So, and there specifically, the Lightning Network, I think, seems to be the obvious choice to facilitate that. So we were just looking at, let's say, a prepaid Visa credit card, right? You can buy with cash, walk into any supermarket and give them $100 and they give you two $50 prepaid Visa cards, right? No KYC required, and I can upload this into my digital wallet, i.e. a Bitcoin-based Abra wallet, and no KYC required as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong about that part. But so long introduction to the question. You guys have a path forward to solve what I would consider the RAM money over IP problem, to move fiat onto this level. And fiat is not money nor currency. Obviously, it's a joke. It's not a store of value or anything. Anyway, any ideas on that?
You guys?
Yeah. So you mentioned like stable coins. So from my perspective, the volatility issue is like solvable through something called fiat sweeps, and we're actually going to have a merchant panel up here, and they're going to talk about that. Am I answering your question or no?
I forgot to mention stable coins, but they're a small step towards it. Obviously, I mean, stable coins is usually used wrongly, as in there's pegs for the most part, right? USDC and Ether, they are just pegs. They have, and all the other algorithmic-based stable coins, they seem to basically be failing at this point in time. But again, to me, it's not actually important at the end of the day, because you actually don't ever want to have a checking account. You actually don't ever want to hold any fiat for any length of time, right? Because it's always going to be inflationary,
yes.
Right? So in an ideal world, the way I would approach this topic is you have a digital wallet that holds whatever it is, synthetic versions of bonds or Apple stock, your house, and when I need to talk to an old legacy fiat merchant, then I move some fiat into RAM and give him what he expects that he wants to see at his point of sale. So is that a totally utopic? To me, it seems just so obvious. I've been waiting for this for a decade now.
I think maybe Cash App would probably do something like that. So have like a cash section that sort of ties into the legacy institutions, and they also have Bitcoin side where you can buy Bitcoin, and I'm sure they're also adding Lightning because they're an investor of Lightning Labs. So I can see what you mean, where you can sort of abstract that and tie into both.
Because we're probably at peak crypto as far as adoption, right? Everybody who wanted to buy crypto.
I wouldn't say that. So we're a merchant and we sell gift cards, and we're actually growing in a bear market. I mean, now we're seeing the price go up, but we've been growing 20% every month for users that only use crypto.
Right, but these are not new users. Those people have crypto. That's why they're joining, right? I mean, crypto.
We are seeing new users.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to quantify, but there are more wallets being opened per day than ever before, I believe. And whether or not they're wallets from existing crypto holders.
They don't translate to users' wallets,
well,
right?
Not
I
necessarily.
have 100.
You don't necessarily know whether they're unique people, but I mean, yeah. I don't think we've hit the threshold.
Right. So, anybody working on money over IP, please see me. Waiting desperately for it to happen.
You were talking about cash sweeps and stuff like that. Do you want to...
Talking about what?
Cash sweeping?
Cash of AP?
Cash sweeping.
Oh, cash sweeping. Oh yeah, it's literally where I make a payment in Bitcoin or Litecoin, and then on the back end they sell an asset on Bitcoin or Litecoin and sweep it into US dollars, and they send the US dollars to the merchant. So it solves all the volatility issues, I think.
Yeah, and I guess that's for people who, Danny's Burgers, which is a great burger restaurant in Melbourne if you ever come to Melbourne. It's not really a restaurant, but I guess they probably don't necessarily want to hold crypto, right? But they want to turn it back into fiat because they pay their staff in fiat. And,
bills to pay.
So I guess, is that something that you're kind of interested in as well? The fact that
the
merchants...
I think it's important that everybody realizes you can't really invest in crypto, right? You can speculate on crypto, but you can't invest in crypto. That's one of the fallacies, and it's for the most part, it's really at this point in time a multi-massive online player game. That's kind of how we are looking at this, because digital currencies obviously have been around for a very long time. Even most fiat, 92% of all fiat is digital. So I think it's very important that we get this terminology right to actually make progress, because I'm getting really, really impatient that I get 10 emails a day. So-and-so is accepting Bitcoin to buy Starbucks or any other nuisance.
Yeah.
The number of people that want to do this is zero, right?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that's true. I'll jump in. I'm not necessarily sure that's true, but I think the terminology stuff and getting terms right is a key path to greater adoption and usage. So I agree with that, but I'm not sure that zero people want to use Bitcoin to buy their coffee at Starbucks. I think it's just that there is this misconception that, and it is a misconception potentially now if they do implement something like Lightning, that it would take up to 2 hours for the transaction to process, right? And so it could be kind of scary. I'd be shitting my pants if I was waiting 2 hours in line.
There's a high barrier of entry. They have to be educated. They have to know what they're doing, what they're receiving. So yeah, I can resonate with that. But maybe I think there was another person back there who had a question.
Oh, yep.
Didn't want to. Okay.
Thank you very much for your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Passing the torch. But
Hey.
it seems to me that a lot of the original users who got into crypto got into to have a system to get away from the banks, get away from third parties, have peer-to-peer electronic cash. And to me, it really seems that Lightning is a Trojan horse to eventually have the banks, have third parties, create a system where it's no longer permissionless, it's no longer decentralized.
Yeah.
And so is there a way to scale Bitcoin or scale crypto without having it go through a hub that no longer makes it peer-to-peer?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's an issue. You can route through another hub. You can create a direct channel to the merchant. I really don't see the similarities there at all.
But yeah, it's
an open network where there are no restrictions. The restrictions are between two individuals or an institution. If you can route around that institution, I don't see what you mean by that.
Well, it's one thing if you're in a room full of tech geeks to say, oh yeah, we can do this. But if I try telling my grandma how to go run a Lightning network, try even telling people at the retail level how to even open a Coinbase account and then move it to a ledger and then go to Shapeshift, move it into something else, and then now you're expecting them to run a Lightning node. It's not making it at the retail level person's able to do this. So yeah, sure, you and I and other people here may not be able to do this or can do this, but the average person out there is just going to go with whatever easy, convenient, one-button push, and that's going to be going through the banks, going to be going through third-party hubs.
Have you downloaded Eclair?
Declare?
Eclair, it's a Lightning Network wallet. It's actually fairly user-friendly. You just literally deposit Bitcoin. It'll automatically open a channel for you. And it's pretty easy. Like, you don't have to go through like all the steps that you just listed.
I mean, I want to add, I don't think the average user is going to care if they're connected to a hub or an institution.
Yeah.
It's the people that want to have the choice.
I was agreeing with you. Yeah, they're not going to care.
Yeah, so it's I mean, obviously we want to make this so it's easy for anyone to just sort of route around that. So you have the option, I think.
Yeah.
If most people don't do this, I don't think it's because they don't know. It's because they don't need it. They don't care. They don't need to have censorship resistance. I don't think everyone needs that.
Yeah.
But I think everyone should have the option to do this.
And I'm going to say something probably controversial. Like, I don't think Layer 2, it doesn't matter if it's centralized or not. I really don't. Because you want censorship resistance, right? And so you get that just by the freedom to open a channel with whoever you want. Like, decentralization for Layer 1 is an absolute must, right? That has to be reliable. It has to be, you have to strive for immutability. But on Layer 2, to me, it's just not as important. And if it is a problem, we can just tear it all down and start over.
Let's not do that. Any more questions? We've got 1 minute 15, which I find unbelievable, left.
In terms of the retail stuff you guys were talking about, I saw that they did some stuff with Raspberry Pis and IoT with Lightning Network. Could you comment on more development on the libraries for IoT devices in order to implement stuff like retail purchases through Raspberry Pis and IoT devices?
I think there are a number of different groups that are working on those devices for this. I know Zap is working on point of sale, like building a cheap device where you can have a Lightning node on this.
I'm sure something like maybe Square or something like that might implement it.
Yeah, I haven't heard too much chatter about integrating Lightning into IoT. I think it's a very attractive thing. But like for the Boltathon, which is like a hackathon that I did over this past weekend, someone presented this like video streaming service, and it's like completely automated. So I think that's like a good first start.
But if you wanted to chat in private, I can talk to you like on the library and angle development side with me directly if you wanted.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so feel free to come approach any of these guys or myself if you want to hear a very layperson version. E, where can people find out more about you?
You can find me on Twitter at eCurrencyHodler.
Justin?
Us on Twitter, JUSCAMARENA.
Awesome. Can we thank Justin and Andrew and myself, obviously, for the great stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you, guys.